So now we have all our pieces printed out. What we're going to do is start putting it together. What you're going to need for this, you're going to need some glue. So we've got some 2-part CA glue here. And then what we're going to do afterwards is use a soldering iron. We're going to start doing plastic welding. Now it's important before I start, if you're going to glue something, do not weld it straight afterwards because this stuff gets pretty toxic. So what we're going to do is put a couple of spots of glue on just to hold things in place. Then get in there and plastic weld it around the glue, not on the glue. Let's get started. Now, one quick tip is to use masking tape. This will help hold various things in place, stop them from moving, so that you can line everything up. And then once you've got it lined up, you just drop those pieces of glue on there, and then we can start the plastic welding. As you can see, this section comes in 2 pieces we've got here. Now, don't be afraid to spend a bit of time making sure you get everything lined up. So we're trying to make sure all of these are in the correct place. And then once we have that, sticking the tape over, I'm going to start gluing. So put 2 drops in either side there. Before I spray it, we're going to double check one last time. Grab our spray and give that a minute to set. Now, looking good down this side too. So we're going to put another drop just down here. And there we go. We just pinned that first one in. So before we start plastic welding, we just one final check. Make sure we're happy with everything. It's looking good. So let's start peeling these bits off. Okay, now this is up to temperature. What we're using on here is, you can see we have a chisel bit on the end, so it's a slightly different fitting than normal. And then all we're going to be doing is very gently melting the plastic on this side, and as it cools, it becomes a single piece of plastic. So I'm just going to put a couple of spot bits in first and make sure we are still good. We need to very slightly just nip this up so it's a little bit tight. Keep your fingers away from the hot bit, obviously. And then what I'm going to do now is just heat these bits up. I'm just putting pressure on here to push it upwards as I'm doing this, to try and remove any gaps so I don't have to fill them later. And now all I'm going to do is simply melt this as we go. Every now and again, just holding for a second to let the heat go through the plastic. And again, as I said, make sure to avoid this glue, because if you start getting glue fumes, you are going to be having a bad day. And then all I'm doing now is simply pushing some of this molten plastic backwards and forwards. So now that side's done, I'm just going to simply continue down this side, and as you can see, we've got a good seal on there. And there is our first piece connected up, and it's already cooling down. As you can see, we can put our weight on that. We've got a good connection around there. So we're going to continue with the rest of the helmet and get it all connected up. So this top piece is already connected a little bit. We just need to make sure it's all good, and then we'll finish that off as well. And because the way Galactic Army have made these, they only fit one way around, so the horns will only fit on one side. And then what I'm going to do is just drop a little bit of glue at the front and at the back. Place, cover that up. Don't spray the soldering iron with the activator, because I don't know what that will do. Now this one is going to be a little bit trickier because we have to get inside and I have to avoid where I've glued. So glued there. So what I'm going to do is go around these edges here and just hold all this in place like this. Careful not to go all the way through, it's trying to. And then onto the other side, which is difficult to see this light. There we go. Got a good solid connection for that next piece. So one side done, let's grab the inside and repeat that. Again, drop of glue at the front and the back so that we remember where we put the glue. Trying to focus on keeping it on the inside, not the outside. And then we just simply go back to soldering again. Now this one is a bit more tricky to get into because it's further down. You just have to be gentle with it. I think we're good. We've got a good connection. Now this part has a connection here which goes into this triangle shape here. So I'm just going to sit that like that for now. So this goes in, that overlaps like that. There we go. So that is ultimately what the face will look like. That's fine. That was intentional. So now we need to just make sure that these bits connect. So I can just hold this in place straight into the soldering, reminding my fingers at the same time. So let's do on there. It's a little bit of a loose fit. So I'm just going to go straight in on this part here. Really flatten that down. Trying to stop it from moving, because it really wants to move. Again, back to this side, do the same again. So, hand underneath. And there we have that bit in place. So, set this piece back on the top. Now this one's going to be a bit more tricky, so I might actually glue this one because there are not very many contact points. So I'm going to put a dab of glue on that bit there. And then we'll get these bits down here, here, and just behind that, trying to avoid the glue pop. Drop this over the top. We do have a little bit of glue coming through, which isn't great, but it is what it is. Now, as we come to this, I've realised we do have a bit of a rough area there. We can sand that out. We can clean that up when we go and do the painting side. Ideally, I could have done that first, and that was probably would have been the better way to do it, but fuck it, I've already glued it. I do again have a little bit of a rough edge on this part as well. When you're doing this, you might want to give it a little bit more pre-sanding than what I'm giving it right here. Next thing, I'm going to try and get this all the way in there. So wish me luck. Okay, due to this gap, I'm thinking I'm going to drop a bit of glue in there as well, because this is not got a very good connection. So glue second is not as bad as glue first. So I'm not soldering this one, I'm just going to glue it because this seems like a better option. And let's grab these rear pieces. I'm going to just slot them in up there. The glue is still wet, so I'm going to get in quick. So this time, completely glue, no soldering whatsoever for this one. I'm just going to use these guidelines to put the glue in place. Put that on. Oh, it moved. Don't move. If it moves, you get glue. So get in there and get up there. There we go. This is when you find out if you really did line things up properly or not. So there's that side in. Now for this side, again, glue down the channels here. The rest of this we're going to do through glue. So we have a few more pieces, and as you can see, each one has an outline, so we can start lining it up. But as you can see, you can just keep going until you get the correct piece in the correct place. So that fits perfectly into there. Test fit everything. Bit more glue. Capture that seam as well at the same time. So now we know it's this piece which goes in there. Just drop that in. So it has given us a little bit of glue on the top, but we're going to be painting over that anyway, so I'm not too fussy. You can see down here we've got other little bits of glue marks. Again, going to be painting all that as well. Same as the top. So final side. There we have the finished or constructed helmet. Here we have the built helmet. Still waiting to be painted. It's going to need a few bits of sanding and filling, but for the right now, it's not looking too bad. As you can see, fits okay, and I've only got a little bit lightheaded from the fumes. So what I've done here is we used some spot putty to fill in all of the gaps, and what we're doing now is going through with a wet sand. This is with 180 grit to begin with. We also moved down to 240 grit as well, just really trying to get in and get rid of all of those seam marks, and also just knock back down the spot putty. And then what we do is we come in with some spray filler primer, and we just cover the entire helmet in order to really build up something to get rid of those layer lines. So what I do now is I come back in with a wet sand, and the real aim here is to knock back that filler primer and get as much back to the black as we can, because all the filler primer is really doing is trying to fill in layer lines. It's not there to be its own texture, so it's just a case of really getting through, getting to all the details and sanding that back. This is quite a long and painful process, so I've sped this up to 2000% for you. So we put a grey primer on, that's just so it holds the paint better. You can see there's a little bit more spot putty that's been put on just to fill in a few more gaps, but ultimately now we're just going with a top layer of paint. This just needs to add a layer of gloss after this, and then we're pretty much done. Right, it's actually been a couple of weeks since I've finished painting this, so on the good news, the paint's fully dry. One of the reasons was I was a little bit disappointed with how it came out, but kind of on reflection and looking back at the old footage, I actually am quite pleased with it in the way that it looks. It's not perfect, which I'm pretty sure is down to my painting skill, and this is literally just one layer of black with some gloss put over the top of it. It's a really simple paint job. There are still some seams which are not fully sealed in, not fully covered up. But I think it looks pretty cool. I do need to put some eyes across the front. I've got some window tint I can use. So for doing things like that, what you can do is get some acrylic. Now in this case, you probably want to cut two different pieces and then put the window tint onto that. Smoky would probably be my choice for this one. I don't think I have any smoky window tint. I've got some red and I've got some green. I might put some red in there, see how that looks. I think that looks pretty cool, actually. But this is a nice, simple build. Putting it together was a little bit tricky, but in terms of sanding and painting and things, it was actually pretty painless. If you want to get hold of this model, it's a Galactic Armory model. Those guys do some really amazing models. I think this one might be on their Patreon, but have a look on their Etsy store as well, and then you'll be able to print this for yourself. Now, if you don't have a 3D printer and you want to just get this kit ordered, then if you go to 3drustler.com, that'll push you through to my Etsy store and you'll be able to buy it from there. Now, if you want to see me do some more cool builds and some helmet builds, which is one of the things I quite enjoy doing the most, I also have some weapons. I've got a chainsaw and a sniper rifle. Hit that subscribe button and we will get you some more videos put out eventually. Soon. Promise. Yeah, soon. Right, guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next one.